Hello everyone, welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, last year we did a video about this and now it's all been officially codified into statute. It's been a lot of discussion about this, and I think there's been a little bit of misnomer and misinformation about this as well. So let's spend a few minutes today and talk about what does Washington State's open carry ban really mean to you? Okay, before we get rolling, you guys know the drill. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. If you want to stay apprised of issues related to your Second Amendment rights, both on a state and nationwide level, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. Click the little bell logo if you want to be notified when we post new videos. And most importantly, please keep the comments coming. The comments and the discussion is how the YouTube algorithm gets our video out to more lawful and responsible gun owners like yourself. Last year, as some of you may recall during our legislative session, even though we had all sorts of very pressing issues to address, a pandemic, crime and rioting in our streets, the legislature found the time and energy to address perhaps one of the more pressing issues in Washington's safety, which is, of course, the banning of open carrying of weapons both at demonstrations and on the Capitol grounds. Now, that was brought into legislation through Senate Bill 5038, and upon its passage was immediately, and I do mean within 24 hours, immediately signed by the governor under an emergency that it needed to be enacted into law. And so this law essentially went into effect July of 2020. This law has been in effect for more than a year now. And what this Senate Bill 5038 did was it really amended two statutes. I should say it amended one statute and added a second statute. It amended RCW 9.41.300, which lists other areas in which open carrying or possession of a firearm is restricted. And then it added to our RCW 9.41.305. So those are the two statutes that we're going to spend a little time with today. Now, Substitute Bill 5038 added a new section to RCW 9.41.300. Now, we'll put a link down below for a video we've already done about that called All the Places You Can't Take a Firearm in Washington State. And just to refresh our memory here, RCW 9.41.300 lists several areas where, regardless of your concealed carry status, you may not take a firearm. Correctional facilities, courthouses, mental health institutions, the security area of airports, to name a few. Now, our restrictions against firearms at daycare centers and schools are actually found in a separate statute, not in 300. So when our 9.41.300 was amended by 5038, a new section, section 2, was added. It reads as follows. Except as provided in C of this subsection, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly open carry a firearm or other weapon while knowingly at a permitted demonstration. This subsection 2A applies whether the person carries the firearm or other weapons on his or her person or in a vehicle. And then the statute further states in subsection 2B, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly open carry a firearm or other weapon while knowingly within 250 feet of the perimeter of a permitted demonstration after a duly authorized state or local law enforcement officer advises the person of the permitted demonstration and directs the person to leave until he or she no longer possesses or controls the firearm or other weapon. This subsection 2B does not apply to any person possessing or controlling any firearm or other weapon on private property owned or leased by that person. So, again, as usual, the legislature has gotten way wordier than what we probably needed in order for us to understand the law. So what does this law really say? The law prohibits a person from knowingly open carrying a firearm at a demonstration in which they are knowingly participating in. It also prohibits an individual from knowingly openly carrying a firearm within 250 feet of a permitted demonstration after law enforcement officer has told you to leave the area and or remove the firearm from the area. So there is not a prohibition upon you being within 250 feet of a permitted demonstration while open carrying. The prohibition comes if you are asked to remove the firearm from that location and you refuse to do so. Now, what exactly is a public place? What exactly is a permitted demonstration? Well, as we know, in the history of RCW 9.41, we do a very poor job of defining some of these terms. One thing I will give the legislature credit for was at least an attempt to define these terms as follows. Permitted demonstration means either A, a gathering for which a permit has been issued by a federal agency, state agency, or local government, or B, a gathering of 15 or more people who are assembled for a single event at a public place that has been declared as permitted by the chief executive, sheriff, or chief of police of a local government in which the gathering occurs. A gathering means a demonstration, march, rally, vigil, sit-in, protest, picketing, or similar public assembly. And the statute then defines public place as, public place means any site accessible to the general public for business, entertainment, or other lawful purpose. A public place includes, but is not limited to, the front immediate area or parking lot of any store, shop, restaurant, tavern, shopping center, or other place of business, any public building, its grounds or surrounding area, or any public parking lot, street, right-of-way, sidewalk, public park, or other public grounds. And then the statute also defines weapon as follows. For purposes of this subsection 1b, weapon means any firearm explosive as defined in RCW 7.74.010, or any weapon of the kind usually known as a slingshot, sand club, or metal knuckles, or any knife, dagger, dirk, or other similar weapon that is capable of causing death or bodily injury and is commonly used with the intent to cause death or bodily injury. And again, we get back to all of the other firearms. We'll put a link for the video of all the other types of weapons that are prohibited by Washington law. But in addition to firearms, there are several other weapons which are prohibited by Washington law, and they would be prohibited from being open carried at a demonstration. And that should make sense because under Washington law, they would be prohibited from being open carried in any circumstance. So to recap, you are not allowed to knowingly open carry while participating at a demonstration, and you are not allowed to open carry within 250 feet of an open demonstration if law enforcement has asked you to remove the weapon from the area. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, subsection 2E exempts concealed carriers from these restrictions. The statute reads as, that portion of the statute, I should say, reads as follows. Nothing in this subsection applies to the lawful concealed carry of a firearm by a person who has a valid concealed pistol license. So again, I want to make this very clear. This restriction applies to those that are open carrying. There is no restrictions on concealed carrying at demonstrations. There are obviously other restrictions in RCW 9.41.300 that are there in place that have no bearing on whether or not you're a concealed carry holder or not. There are many places in the state of Washington which you cannot take a firearm regardless of your concealed carry license status, and we'll put a link for a video that explains all of that down below as well. Well, that does it, right? No, of course not. Wait, there is more. In fact, because the passage of 5038 also created a new statute, RCW 9.41.305. Let's take a look at what that statute says. Unless exempt under subsection 4 of this section, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly open carry a firearm or other weapon as defined in RCW 9.41.301B while knowingly being in the following locations: the West State Capitol grounds, any buildings on the state capitol grounds, any state legislative office, or any location of a public legislative hearing or meeting during the hearing or meeting. Okay, a couple of other provisions you need to be aware of in RCW 9.41.305. Subsections 2 and 3 list out a multitude of buildings as well as other geographical markers which would indicate where the no carry zone is, so pay careful attention to that. Subsections 4 exempts all law enforcement and military, active members of military from this. And then finally, subsection 5 tells you that if you are in violation of this law, you are found guilty of open carrying in violation of 9.41.305, you are guilty of a gross misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine. So, in conclusion, is there an outright open carry ban in the state of Washington? No, those urban legends are not true, not yet at least. Give Governor Inslee and Attorney General Ferguson some more time. God help us all. So, in conclusion, with the passage of House Bill 5038, open carrying is now prohibited while you are participating, Knowingly participating in a permitted demonstration, open carry is also prohibited if you are within 250 feet of a permitted demonstration and asked to leave by law enforcement. If you are guilty of those offenses, you are guilty of a gross misdemeanor. Finally, we added RCW 9.41.305, which prohibits open carrying on the West Capitol grounds and many other geographical locations listed in that statute. And again, a violation of that is also a gross misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine. Listen, you may have more questions about these open carry bans or anything related to your Second Amendment rights, and if you do, don't ever hesitate to contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or of course you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Listen, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we preach all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.